Hey, I'm Catherine McFarland, the Cash Cowgirl, and I'm here at a property in Cobb County, and I'm going to go through and show you the things, point out the things that are wrong with it and any assets that it may have. We're going to look at things very thoroughly. The most important thing you can do when you're inspecting a house is use all your senses: sight, sound, smell, and touch, and that's going to help. So we're going to go through this house, this property, and I'm going to point out to you the things that I see that are wrong with it, or the things that I see that may be an asset. When you inspect, I'm going to give you an easy inspection checklist that I've developed that help you go from top to bottom, left to right when you're inspecting a property. That way, when you get back home, it's so thorough that you're not going to have to try to remember, oh, what did the roof look like, or anything along those lines. You're going to have it right in front of you in black and white. I also have a good flashlight, because a lot of times they don't have the power on in the house, or you need to look under it, or in the attic anyway. And I keep a screwdriver, just kind of test the wood, or if I need it for some other reason. A little tape measure, so if you want to measure to estimate your repairs or the size of the house, and a bottle of water, because sometimes you get into a situation where you got mold and the throat gets tight or whatever. When you finish, you're going to be able to evaluate a deal and get the profits handed to you on a silver platter. We're going to have a look up here at the eaves. Number one, first thing I see is that the electric pole is leaning over at the top. So one, that needs to be fixed, because you may have tension coming down on the wire. The other thing is that leads me right to the electric meter has been pulled. Most cities and counties, if the electric meter is pulled more than 6 months, in order to get the power back on, you're going to have an inspector come out, and the inspector will make you bring it up to current code. Okay, let's say we've just pulled into the driveway, and the first things I notice are those garage doors are wrecked. The lamp post is leaning over, and another very potential problem is if you look at the grade on this property, the water is all draining right into the house. We've got weeds growing up there that's going to mess up the wood, because the roots will grow right into the wood and start to deteriorate the wood. These garage doors have had it. They've just nailed up some stuff to try to keep it probably from people getting inside. You notice that they've already replaced this board where they've had some problems with rot. And then over on this side, and the siding, you can see the siding is missing, and it's also had a lot of moisture, and it's got some damage on it. You got this green growth right there. Obviously, they've moved the electric service, because they had this here before, and that was probably where the meter panel was. I don't know why they moved the service. We could check to see if they got a permit to do it, because if they didn't get a permit to do it, then we don't know what was done on the inside of the walls. Whenever you see one of these, you can pretty much count on it's a foreclosure and it's bank owned. And that's exactly what this house is. Basically, this yard is just in complete disarray. We got a gully ditch coming down through there with weeds. Look like instead of a lawnmower, they might have bush hogged this yard with a tractor. This deck has absolutely no supports out here. If you get people on that deck, there's a very high chance that it's going to fall. It's also, you can see that green growth on there, and the debris that's accumulated in there. I'm not going to go out on that deck, but I'm saying there's probably a good chance that the whole thing needs to be replaced, just for safety's sake. The air conditioning unit has been stolen, and I don't have a key to this, but we may come back and look at it with the flashlight. Obviously, we've got water problems around this house. This may be able to be taken care of when the gutters on the deck are finished. But if you look here, that white shows an indication of rot developing on this. They wired this privacy fence to this tree thing growing here. It's pretty ingenious, I guess. Some people used to say, oh, just use an investor key. Well, I'll tell you what an investor key is these days with all the theft going on in a house. It's criminal trespass and it's breaking and entering. So, me personally, I am not using an investor key. One thing that I'm putting the key back and changing the code up. Right here, this has been reversed. It should be, so when you try to close the door, it doesn't close. This should be flipped the other way. And when I come in, I can smell some mildew. It doesn't smell very good in here. You can smell dampness. What I'm going to say is this is fabulous trim at the top for the price of the fixture. If I'm retailing it, that fixture is going to go. If I'm renting it, it can stay. You can see where they patched that ceiling before. It's kind of sagging over the shower, which is an evidence that they've got moisture in here. The hardwood floors, to retail it, I refinish them. You might get away with it on a rental. This room in here, personally, I think it has, I like the room. I like all the trim, the ceilings, the fixture looks fine to me. Okay, they have replaced an electric panel. I don't see any kind of inspection sticker on it or anything. And yeah, that paint was wet. Okay, there's the main shut off, but there's no breaker here to go for a kitchen stove, which they might just use gas. There's no breaker to go for a dryer if it was going to be electric. There's no breaker here for central heat and air. So you've got some electric work that's going to have to be done. And that's so few breakers that it shouldn't even support a house with this many bedrooms. So they've obviously had some issues about people breaking in. I guess that's why they decided to leave the door open. The wiring in here has not been replaced. They've merely replaced an electric panel because these outlets look old, that they haven't even been removed or changed. So if they had replaced the wiring in the walls, we would see some evidence of that, and we would also see that these outlet covers are probably the original ones, and the outlets also. So from that, my educated opinion is that they have not, the wiring has not been replaced, they just changed the main panel. Mold on the cabinets and in here. This stove, I think it's got to go either way. On a rental, you can probably clean up these tiles and regrout them and paint. I'd put a new faucet in there, preferably something that's high up. Or down here, you can see where they've had to patch the wall. You can see mold down there that's going to have to be, I'd yank that sheetrock out, cut it out, and cut out the bottom and replace it, and cut out that back trim piece and replace it, and treat that whole place for mold. Okay, you got the laundry room in here with this whole menagerie of outlets, which screams they need to be inspected, because that's just crazy. Until you get trained to see about a floor being uneven Or same thing, if you had a marble, if I had a marble and I put it right there, it's gonna roll downhill because you can see how this goes downhill. That's where the water damage has been coming in, where I said outside this wall, under those bricks, that's where they did not do a correct footer on it, and that's allowed this to settle. And I think you could live with it right now spider webs. I think I could live with this right now, the little bit of settling, as long as the problem was corrected and it stopped the settling in it, so there was no more settling. In here, we got some issues where the copper's been cut. Got an old gas furnace that, if you're gonna retail it, you're probably gonna wanna replace this furnace. At the very least, if you put a renter in here, you wanna have it serviced and make sure it works and no carbon monoxide leaking. And then right here, I've got a whole little concoction of plumbing pipes. That cast iron right there, that black one coming out is cast iron. And if you look where it joins into the rubber, you'll see how old it looks. Cast iron was used in the older houses, and that may be an indication that out in the yard where it looked like they dug that pipe up, that they had problems with the cast iron. It looks like that from the inside, the drain pipe has been changed to PVC. But I don't know what's in the yard, and nobody can tell you what's in the yard unless you get a plumber with a camera to run it down through the line and have a look at what's going on. The water heater is in really bad condition. It's gone. This tells me that somebody has been in here stealing copper, but I don't know why they didn't bother with that. And then down below, what I think may have caused a lot of this black mold, is that when they disconnected the water heater, that it flooded in here, and that may be why they didn't take all of it, but all that's got to be taken care of. So hopefully we've taken some of the fear out of you going and looking at a house. If you have any doubts, if you don't know what to look for, let me suggest that rather than spending money on a home inspection or relying on a contractor, which some contractors, especially if they know you don't know what you're doing, are going to come in, jack up the prices, and you're going to be left with your deal ruined because you didn't estimate the repairs right, or you've hired the wrong person to do the job. So I'm available. There are other people that are available that can teach you how to estimate the repairs, and I'm going to give you my inspection sheet, my easy to use, top to bottom, left to right, that's going to help you estimate the repairs and in detail write down what the house needs before you buy it. I just say get help, get a partner if you need to. Don't start out with a big rehab job without somebody there to hold your hand. And I appreciate you coming and walking through the house with me today, and I'll see you at the top.